Hi, everybody.
Hello. Okay, it looks like most people are here, and I do see lots and lots of faces that are familiar and lots of new people. So hopefully we'll provide enough of an introduction for those folks who are new so that you understand what we are about. As I was saying earlier, IGAD had not originally planned to have a meeting at the Australia session, at the Australia meeting, and so we had not planned to have an agenda, but then when the opportunity came to do a virtual session, we decided there was plenty to talk about, and as you will see, we have a pretty packed agenda. So I will get started, and the agenda is here at this URL if you want to follow along. The times are slightly changed, so please don't be concerned about that. The agenda is roughly organized into 4 sections. The first one, we will talk a little bit about who IGAD is and what we've been doing since the last meeting in Helsinki, Finland. Then we'll have a number of updates from members of our community. Then we'll talk a bit about next steps for the IGAD interest group. And then finally, we'll close with a few announcements. So just as a reminder, the time slots are going to vary. We have different amounts of time per person. So we don't all have 10 or 15 minutes. Please do your best to keep to your allotted time if you're a speaker. If you have a question, please type it into the chat window and we will read it out and hope that the speaker will be able to answer quickly. If not, we'll do our best to support answers in chat as well. The session will be recorded, so I wanted to remind Patricia, you could probably start recording if you haven't already. And so if you don't want to be recorded, please keep your camera off and don't speak. I don't know, but I suspect the chats will probably be preserved. So just a heads up that if you type anything into chat, even private chats, I think they will get saved. Finally, if you are tweeting about this meeting, the organizers of RDA have asked that you use the hashtag RDA Plenary. Okay, so with that, we will get started with our first agenda item, which is an overview of IGAD and activities since Helsinki. So Emma, do you want to get started?
Yes. Yes, so this is, well, hello to everybody. And these are the web pages are dedicated to the IGAD community, one in RDA, which is our web page. I hope that all of you are subscribed already, otherwise I will come. I encourage you to subscribe after that, after this meeting. And the other one is aims@fao.org, which is a community that is also providing support to the IGAD community. How can I pass the slides?
Just tell me and I'll advance them for you.
Okay, so traditionally we have had always meetings during the plenary, which is like the one that we are having today, but face-to-face. Since Tokyo, I think that since Paris in 2015, we started to host as well pre-meetings that usually are about 1 to 2 days before the plenary, and that helps the community to meet and talk and present what is being developed, found, lessons learned in among those that are part of the IGAD community. Slowly, the number of people that could travel after Berlin to Gaborone and Philadelphia and Helsinki got a little bit reduced. A slide, please. I don't see it. And was in Helsinki in October last year that we discussed during the plenary that it would be good to share the presentations and the experiences that are delivered during these pre-meetings also virtually. So we have been delivering some webinars. I hope that some of you have joined and enjoyed as well this kind of virtual events. We have had 4. Those 4 were part of the Helsinki agenda, and we are recording them. We are also delivering them through YouTube, and the number of views actually probably the most relevant number, as you see from this slide. So for instance, the one that Richard delivered, and I saw Richard, the list of participants today, had already quite a lot of 130, but also the experience with Copo got 500 views, and so and so. Essentially, we would like to continue. The experience is good so far, and we would like also to encourage you to make to submit proposals if you want to deliver one webinar. This is the next webinar we have next week. Is the Intelligent Plan Data Linkage. It's going to be delivered by Sabina Leonelli and Hugh Williamson from the University of Exeter. This is April 16, and it's going to be at 11 a.m. CEST time. Next. So all the slides that are being presented during the IGAD meetings are also stored and made accessible from the F1000 research platform. We have a channel there, which is called Open Knowledge in Agricultural Development. At the moment, under the gateway of GODAN, we have plenty of them, 117, is all IGAD in principle. And there are also relevant numbers if you want to double check there who is downloading and viewing your presentations besides the numbers that we get from YouTube. Next. You are muted, Cindy.
Okay, so that next slide is actually for a presentation that's going to come later, right? So is this it, Emma, for your update?
Yes, we tried to do as many activities online as we could, and we will present a new one at the end of this meeting that we hope that you will also join. But in practical terms, these are the activities that we have been carrying out since Helsinki. Yes.
Okay, and I will just add to this that if Emma didn't say it before, the presentations right now in the webinar are actually the same as presentations that were done in Helsinki. But I think going forward, if we have new projects that would like to present a webinar that haven't before been presented to IGAD, we would be happy to have you volunteer to join the webinar series with your project. So just let us know if you'd like to give a webinar about your project. Do we have any questions about this presentation? Okay, so let's move on. So the next presentation is from the Agrisemantics Working Group, and that's Sophie Aubin and Katerina Caracchiola. I thought that Sophie was not going to be here to present and Katerina would be doing the presentation, but I saw Sophie was on earlier. So whoever's going to present, please go ahead and share your slides. And we'll make sure that you're unmuted if you can't. Ah, Sophie, thank you.
Sophie. Cynthia, I'd like, yes, okay. I need you to, I'll try to share my screen. Can you see the slides?
Yes.
Okay, good. Hi, everybody. I'm Sophie Aubin from INRAE, co-chairing the Agrisemantics working group with Katerina Caracchiola and Brandon Whitehead. And Katerina is sorry not to be able to participate today, but she's very busy with some projects on COVID-19. So she prepared the presentation with me, and I will try to present it my best. So last time we met in Helsinki, we presented the Agrisemantics recommendation, which is the final output of the working group. So we've been working for 2 years to write these recommendations for better use and development of semantic resources. And these recommendations are targeted to different kinds of actors like policymakers and funders, software developers, semantic professionals, and data producers and managers. I won't go into details in the recommendations as we already presented them, and we will now focus on ongoing activities. So last updates of the working group is that first, all our deliverables are published as preprints. First, the landscaping, where we looked at all the practices and tools used and resources used in the agricultural community regarding semantic resources. Then we ran a study collecting use cases of data management, data sharing using semantic resources. This was done in 2018. And from these use cases, we output a list of requirements from the communities, from the agricultural community, and we derived from these requirements the recommendations that we published last year. And now we are actually working on a paper synthesizing these 39 recommendations, and also we want to show how they are adopted by community stakeholders, and I will tell you more about these aspects in this presentation. Now, something that has been done in addition to the first publication of the recommendations, and that will be published in the Science Data Journal, is that we try to look at our recommendations in alignment with the FAIR principles, as these are quite connected. I will present two adopters now, and we'll have a third one later in the session. So the first one that that is developed by Caterina Caracciolo and her team is the Caliper tool. She would have told you more about this application than me, but this is an application to manage and share statistical classifications. So this tool is dedicated to people working in statistics, and it helps them better sharing more formal, more reusable statistical classifications. And these resources are also machine actionable, which is quite important, and which answers some recommendations of the Agrisemantics working group. So you can access the Caliper interface and try it with the credentials that are shown here. I won't list all of them. It will be too long, but mainly Caliper addresses agrisemantics recommendations in the following way. That this application uses only open source application, open source code, and shared metadata schemes, which makes them the resources more findable and reusable. Each resource has global identifiers as well as the information that they contain. Also, Caliper uses as much as possible existing resources, which was really stressed in the agrisemantics recommendations, that to avoid the proliferation of new semantic resources. And I'll let you read the rest, and won't go too much in detail. This is for future developments of Caliper. In the agrisemantics recommendation, we much insisted also on the adaptation of the tools to non-specialists of semantics. In this case, statisticians are not always familiar with the semantic language, so the application and the interfaces have to be adapted to these users. And also, most important is the connection of such an application to domain repositories, where people can work with relevant data, relevant semantic resources. Also important is the having clear licenses, which will be addressed soon. So if you are interested in knowing more about Caliper, I invite you to ask to contact Katerina and ask her question. I'm afraid I won't be able to answer more questions about it. Second adopter is the AgroPortal, which many of you know of. Which AgroPortal is a repository of vocabulary and ontologies for agronomy, where you can host your resources, search for them, manage versions, visualize the content of the semantic resources, comment, and also recommend resources. At the moment, 109 semantic resources are available for the agriculture, agronomy, plant science domains, food, and so on. So it's an important asset for the community, where you can find interesting resources to work with semantics. Same as Caliper, AgroPortal evaluated its alignment with the agrisemantics recommendations. It addresses many of them, in fact. It's been for a long time, in fact, as it allows to discover semantic resources and host them and keep them for a long time, making them accessible. Also, this portal is really useful to help identifying semantic resources that are fair enough, as it provides many relevant and adapted metadata to discover them, and it addresses many fair principles in terms of findability, accessibility, and reusability. And also, as it implements standards from W3C, like OWL and SCOUS, it answers the eye of the fair very well. What is noticeable also is that metadata are based on a shared standard, and they can be automatically processed from the semantic resource files, even if they are expressed in using many different metadata schemes. And further developments are already ongoing in the context of the D2K project you may have heard about also. And the D2K project will help going further in making semantic resources more fair and assess the fairness of these semantic resources, and help semantic resources providers to provide more reusable semantic resources. And much work is ongoing on also concept alignment or mapping. We may do some presentation about this work in a webinar later. So all this work on evaluating the alignment of Caliper and AgroPortal and also other adopters will be published in the Data Science Journal paper that we will submit next week. Another adopter of the Agrisemantics output is the Fusin project. I will talk to you about later in this session. And now we have already registered more adopters. You can find the list and the details on the agrisemantics.org website. And if you are interested in evaluating how you address the Agrisemantics recommendation, just contact us, look at the recommendations themselves, and we will be happy to present your view on the recommendations. And you can find additional information on the Agrisemantics webpage on RDA website and on the agrisemantics.org. And I think I'm done. Yes. Thank you for listening. And if you have questions.
Thank you very much. There were a few questions in the chat, but it looks like they have been answered, and it's time for us to move on. So if you have additional questions, please put them in chat and we'll try to make sure that somebody answers them. So we now want to have just a brief update on GACs from Emma Subarats.
Hi. So for me, but I see that we have as well Jennifer Woodward here today. So if she wants to add anything to what I'm going to say, please feel free. Jennifer is representing NALT in the context of GACs, and I'm representing FAO. So I would like to share my screen, but I'm not sure. Well, good, doesn't matter. Actually, the thing is that last year we met in Rome in November. We had a meeting, FAO, NAL, the National Agricultural Library of the US. And CABI International to discuss the situation of GAC, since we didn't contribute to GAC since practically 2016. We decided to recommend to the community not to use the URIs provided by GACs or generated by GACs, since we cannot guarantee that this new vocabulary is going to be maintained. Yes, so in principle, GACs, let's say that the idea of aligning the vocabularies is still there. So we are working now in new mappings between NALT and AgroVoc, but in principle, this is going to be integrated in our own thesauri, and this is not going to be, let's say, exported or integrated in a way or another into GACs. I don't know, Jennifer, if you want to add something to this in a way.
Yeah, I think that's where we left it in Rome, and I think the NAL is still very interested in GACs, but it's been a while, and I'm relatively new, so but that's where we are now, and we hope to engage a little bit with CABI to get some of their feedback, because I think they're changing, and Brandon has moved on. So, but I think that's a good place for us now. It's doable. We want to make sure that, you know, the work is not lost in any event. So if that sounds
right, so that you can still download GACs and you can still play with the data as a project. It's simply that we would rather recommend to use the URIs that NALT and AgroVoc have in GACs rather than using the URIs of GACs, because we don't know how long they are going to be maintained. If this can be moved to NAL would be good in a way. We could then explore other ways to move it on, but at the moment is, let's say, is not active.
We want to ensure it's preserved at this point, and so we can maintain what we have at least.
Okay, I don't know if you have any, so if there is any question from the audience about the situation of GAC, since it was quite a lot, I mean, it was promoted quite a lot in the IGAD community in the past. But otherwise, you can always email me and Jennifer, and we can provide more information about what we are doing.
Okay, we need to move on to the next item on the agenda.
Thanks, Emma.
Thank you.
And thank you. So next we have an update on adoption of the wheat data interoperability working group outputs. So Esther Zala, could you please share your screen and present to us?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, a little soft though.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm Esther Zale from INRAE, and I'm one of the co-chairs of the Wheat Data Interoperability Working Group. So before talking about the adoption, I wanted just to provide some background in case some of you didn't follow this working group. So it was created in 2014. It was the first working group under IGAD, and also the first working group, the first domain-oriented working group in RDA. So now we are in maintenance phase. That means we just have to maintain the recommendations we provided. And we are 3 co-chairs, and there is a supporting group now, and yeah, that's the current status. So the very objective of the working group was to try to contribute to improve the wheat data interoperability. What does it mean? We wanted to improve the level of exchange of wheat-related data. And for that, we wanted to provide some guidelines on standards, data format standards, metadata standards, and vocabularies for wheat-related data, and also make it easy for the community to find useful and information in terms of best practices for data description or data representation or data exchange. So basically, there were many organizations involved, but we had a strong sponsor for this working group, which was the Wheat Initiative, which is an international initiative with most of the key players in the wheat research domain. So a few words on how we worked, because it was very important. We really wanted to not to reinvent the wheel, so we wanted to base the work on existing standards and practices. So the first thing we started with was surveys. We surveyed the community in order to identify existing standards and existing practices. And we try to build from these surveys. And the surveys helped us in 2 ways. First, it confirmed the existence of consensus regarding some data types. For example, DNA sequences or gene expression data. We were able to confirm that in terms of data formats, data exchange formats, there was some strong consensus we could build on. And the second way the surveys helped us was about the identifications of gaps, existing gaps. For example, for phenotypes and germplasm data, we could see through the surveys that there were not strong consensus, but we could also see that there were some emerging standards, and we collectively agreed to recommend some of them, among which MyAPI, for example, ISATAP, or crop ontology, specifically the wheat trait ontology, and the FAO multi-crop passport ontology. So the outputs, the main outputs of the working group were first a website with the guidelines. By guidelines, I mean what we recommended in terms of data formats, metadata standards, and vocabularies, and how to describe some data sets. Another important output was a slice in the AgroPortal tool that was mentioned previously by Sophie. And this was also important for us as we wanted to make it easy for the community to find existing resources and existing standards for wheat-related data. And then we also had a kind of a demonstration of how it could be interesting to have harmonized practices. And this showcase was done through a tool called AgroLD. And this tool was able to integrate different types of data providing from different sources, and it could show how powerful it could be to have this kind of possibilities. And the last output I wanted to mention is a position paper we published in 1000 Research to explain the methodology we had and the results we got. So in terms of adoption, the main adopters of the outputs are the wheat research community within the wheat initiative. And the adoption was basically done by the nodes of an information system called WheatIS. And specifically, each node who adopted the recommendations facilitated in some way the construction of this system. And so the aim of this information system is to integrate the data from the different nodes and make them available on the web. So this is the main, it was also the main goal of the working group, to be honest. So I think in some way we reach what we wanted to reach. And what we also noticed is that these recommendations are sometimes used for other species. For example, for the graphene information system, they based some recommendations on what was provided by the wheat data working group. Because basically, most of the recommendations could be valid for this species. And I think AgroPortal is now a well-established and well-recognized portal for wheat-related ontologies. The community knows now that they can monitor this portal to see what is out there and what is new. And they also know they can contribute to put some resources in this portal. And the last thing is that the approach we used is also something which is finally reused in different contexts. For example, in my institution, we are reusing this approach for in many different projects and contexts, and this is really something useful. Thank you for listening, and I can take some questions.
Actually, I think we're running a little bit behind on time,
Okay.
and I don't see any questions in the chat, so I think we'll move on to our next presentation. And
Great.
again, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. And thank you, Esther, for your presentation. So our next talk is about improving data integrity through the integration of crop bases with institutional repository. And this is a case of cassava base integration. And Bosun, are you there? Can you show your slides and introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm here. I'm trying to get the video up. So can you see me?
We can't see you, but if you share your slides, that's probably good enough.
Okay.
And if you're having trouble, I could try to show your slides for you.
It should be showing now. I expect it to be showing.
I don't think so. You have to choose which screen you show. So hit share and then select the window that has your slides in it. Ah, yes. Now we see it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Now, hello everyone. My name is Bosun Obileye from ITA, International Institute of Tropical Agriculture. We have a case of crop bases within the institution, and we have an institutional data repository. We embark on a journey in which we try to integrate all our different research databases into one single system, which can be fed into a bigger system. And that's the whole thing I want to explain here. Just for clarity, I just try to define some things. CGIAR is a global partnership that unites 15 international organizations engaged in research for a food secure future. And within that CG, we have a platform which is an online portal that provides access to agricultural research data produced by all the centers, our implementing partners, and beyond, because we also have some other agencies in the US, UK, that their data also residing there. I mean, that is calling, let me put it that way. We have crop bases, and one of them is cassava base. Cassava base is an integrated field breeding and genomic database which enables accelerated genetic gain in cassava. And the institutional repository is built on an open source data management system called CCAN. And another definition that I will try to explain is CG Core V2. Within CGIAR, we develop a metadata standard that's describing all types of information, products that are published within these centers. It's an internal thing which it conforms close to the Dublin core. So within ITA, we have all these bases scattered about. We used to have a RDBMS before, then everything went off. It wasn't working. The dream of the institution was to develop a big data platform for all research within the institution, just like a one-stop library for all research data, to create a sustainable system for all this data and their management. We also want to comply with the founder's request on open access, comply with the CG core metadata, which is basic for all CGIAR centers. We want to increase the visibility and then have big data opportunities. So this is just the scenario that we had before. We have these databases, but it cannot get to CGI, our big data platform, because all the crop bases require authentication. Although they are supposed to be open, but you must log in, and they are not conforming to the CGIAR CG Core version 2 metadata standard. So what we did was to bring in SICAN, which is the institutional data repository. We built some add-ons onto it, and it serves as an intermediary, as a warehouse for all data across the institution into the Guardian. So the approach that we adopted is this. First, we identify the need based on the organizational goal. We identify and group various research databases within the organization. We identify those that are supposed to be natural resource, the social science, and so forth, so on and so forth. We choose a pilot database to start with, and in this case, it's cassava base. We identify the critical stakeholders involved in the cassava base, both internal and external. For instance, Cornell University is critical for the success of cassava base. Then we gather insight from stakeholders to know what their concerns is, what are their expectations. We develop concept note and get approval. Later on, we design the workflow, the entire architecture of the integration, how it to go. We started with a test environment, then implemented in the production environment. Later on, we came up with documentation. Some of the things that we were able to gather from our scientists was that cassava base is fantastic, it's well annotated, the search is wonderful, the data integration is fantastic, you can do data analytics. In terms of genomic and phenomic data, for your data point, it's giving them what they need. For breeding management, they have all what they need, and data sharing is serving them. More so, it is open to all cassava breeder once they log in. So we need to justify why we need to move further for it to be within SICAN, and then make it open to the public. One of the things we showed was that for your data now, within cassava base, there's nothing like DOI. But for all data that we have in SICAN, we assign DOI to them. And there is also the option of data citation using 10 different standards. So these are things that interest our scientists, and we talk about the visibility within Guardian. The SICAN itself within her ITA has been integrated with Guardian, along with other repositories outside this institution. So with this, they started getting interested. And when everybody realized that other data from other domains, like the genetic improvement, the natural resource management, the social science, food science, plant production, all can be accessed from a single point, the interest grew. And then one more thing that we developed was we tried to make SICAN to be able to give us some more visualization, more than what is built into it. We got more graphs into it, and it interests our scientists. Our data within SICAN, they are licensed by CC by 4.0. So this is all what we implemented. The cassava base is existing. It has BRAPI. SICAN has its own API, but we built an internal cron job between, the cron job is like a scheduled job between the BRAPI that is for cassava base and the SICAN API. So it goes into the API of cassava base, pulls the data, land it in a data curation scripting environment. We carry some little data quality job, assign the metadata that we are looking for, assign the UI, but all these processes, they're auto-generated, there's no manual intervention, and then you pull it to SICAN. So the whole diagram of what we did is here. And I must say that this is not possible without the input of many contributors within the institution and outside. I would like to appreciate Lucas Muller from Cornell University, who has actually been championing this cassava base, and other people like Peter Kulakau and many others. So thank you. Any question?
Thank you, Bosun. I had a question that I put in the chat, but I see that you have Lucas Mueller from Cornell in the list of contributors. So I think that answers my question that you are coordinating with a project that is a USDA project called Breeding Insights. Do you have any more comment about that?
Well, I mentioned Lucas Mueller because, let me go back to the last slide. We actually have a local version of this same database within our institution. So what we did is that we need to get his consent to let him know that this data, the one that's coming directly from our ITA, we are harvesting them and getting them into our local institution. So it was one that made us to know how to handle the cron job and the BRAPI. I did not actually interface directly with USDA. We only discussed with Mueller, I mean Lucas, because we needed his input to get our own data. So we did not have access to other centers or other partners. It is only data that is generated by IIT scientists that we have within the SECAN.
I see. Okay, thank you. I think we need to move on because we're running a little bit behind time. So thank you very much, Bosun, for a fascinating presentation. Let's move on to Suchith Anand, who's going to talk about the Kampala Inspire Hackathon. Suchith, can you share your slides? And I think we need to move fairly quickly, so hopefully.
Yeah, sure, but I'm trying to share my screen. Let me.
Bosun, you may need to stop sharing. I think if you go up to the top, perhaps. Good, thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Suchith Anand. Thank you for this opportunity. And I want to use today's opportunity to share one of the initiatives that we are doing called the Kampala Inspire Hackathon 2020. And I also want to, this might be of interest to colleagues who are working in capacity development. So for example, in IGAD, there is a capacity development working group, and I have seen some of my colleagues in that working group in this meeting. So I really hope this might be of interest to anyone who is interested in capacity development aspects of agriculture. So this particular hackathon that we have launched with many of Plan for All, GODAN, FAO, GEO, the Group on Earth Observations, Africa Group, RCM, RDA, and so many European projects as well. And the aim of this hackathon is to bring together European and African researchers and around the world to work on interesting agriculture challenges. So there are a lot of several EU projects have joined this challenge. And last year we ran this in Nairobi called the Nairobi Inspire Hackathon. It was very successful. We have over 200 participants joining this challenge at Nairobi. And this year we are making it fully virtual. So there's no on-site component. All these challenges are all the teams are all fully can participate fully online. So this is a great opportunity. We thought this might be help us lower the barriers, so more colleagues can join and be part of this initiative. So I just want to mention, what are the key aspects of joining the hackathon for those who are interested. So there is the aim is to build up joint ideas for sustainable Africa and to build up networks and peer learning and collaboration. So it's an opportunity for hands-on work to solve problems specifically for Africa. And the idea is to bring together a network of experts as well as those interested to join the various challenges to share their ideas and test new technologies. Obviously, capacity development is one key aspect of this, and we aim to make sure all these teams, have a learning component through this opportunity as well. So those of you interested, there's the links. I will make sure I share the slides as well to anyone interested. But there are already around 10 challenges that are already taking place. So these cover from things like open land use to transportation to food security to ethical and legal aspects of open data that are affecting smallholder farmers. So all these, if anybody is interested to join any of these challenges, please look at the website and you can join these. Any team you are interested in, and there are also mentors for each of the teams who will be very happy to have you join the team and help you with the challenges, and set up the teams. And there is a very good website with a lot of information on some of the webinars as well. So you can just go to choose your favorite challenge, register, and then you can join the community, the team members, and start working on the challenges and how to do all this free and open for everyone. Anyone who is interested to join these challenges. So I have provided the link of how to register as well. So if you are interested, you can go to that link and register your information there as well and join the challenge. So a quick look at the timetable. So it started last month, in March. Still ongoing in the sense that we just have this week mostly on the webinars, and all these webinars are recorded. So on each of the challenges. So if you have not had a chance to look at these challenges, I will recommend that you go to this webinars recordings website and go to whichever challenges interest you, and then you will be able to learn more about each of these challenges, and then you will be able to join whichever challenges interest you. And 20th April, there will be like a midterm reporting, and the aim of the timeline is on 6th of May. All these teams will have a remote presentation of the hackathon results, and we will present the hackathon results on 6th of May. So this is in a very nutshell what we are doing. So I really hope some of you are interested to join these some of these teams that I mentioned and participate in this Kampala Inspire virtual hackathon as well. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. I do not see any questions, but we do have perhaps a minute or two to answer questions. So is your goal, Suchith, to have this be a very international hackathon? Are you hoping for participation from many continents, or are you, again, focusing more on Africa?
Yes, this for global is open to everyone, but many of these challenges are focused on Africa. Focused area. So anyone interested from anywhere in the world, you are more than welcome to join any of these teams. So there is fully open to anyone.
Thank you. And do you have any ideas about the next hackathon? It sounds like this is visioned as a series.
Yeah, this is a series of hackathons. Actually, the Inspire hackathons. It has been running for, I think, 3 or 4, and it has been going for not only for, but this is the first time we are doing this virtual hackathon. So we are, in a way, we are going to learn a lot of ideas from this hackathon, and then we hope to expand it, next year as well. But definitely we'll make sure there is some follow-up activities based from this hackathon. In fact, I want to just mention as well, all the outputs from the hackathon will also be made available openly. So anyone interested to follow from the outputs, they'll be getting an opportunity to learn more from the outputs of the hackathon.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So we'll move on to our next presentation, and that is about the FUSIN project, as the French section of the Go Fair Food Systems Implementation Network, and Sophie Aubin is going to be presenting.
Thank you, Cynthia. My mic was muted. Can you see the screen? Okay. Thanks. Thank you to IGAD to offer me the opportunity to present this project this is a French one involving research actors from the agriculture and development in France, and also the University of Montpellier. Just a word about INRAE. You may notice that this new logo, just to say that INRAE was born from the fusion of INRA and IRSTEA in January this year. So you will get familiar with this new logo. Okay. This project is the occasion to show the connection between RDA and GOFER, as the FUSIN was born from a long-time collaboration of several teams in the context of IGAD, Agrisemantics, and other RDA interest and working groups. Some people from the FUSIN project, we are all French, but some of them met at RDA Plenary some years ago. So that's funny to see how we can build collaborations at a national level from experiences at an international level. So this the IGAD and the Agrisemantics working group offered us fora for sharing experiences and practices on agricultural data. And the FUSIN project will work on these aspects, and especially on the semantics aspects, which is an heritage from the Agrisemantics works. So in 2018 was the creation of GOFER. This is an international bottom-up initiative that involves data practitioners, researchers, and its aim is to facilitate the practical implementation of FAIR principles in the European Open Science Cloud in particular, but more generally in the what we call Internet of Fair Data and Services. And this GOFER initiative works is based on what they call implementation networks, which are networks that involve people from specific communities, either thematic or technical communities, who engage in implementing and developing the FAIR principles. And in 2019, we created the Food Systems Implementation Network, together with first with the Wageningen University and INRAE, and invited many actors of the community to contribute, and with the aim of supporting the implementation of FAIR principles in the agri-food sciences, be they public or private, with providing guidelines, tools, methods, and so on. And we have a particular appetence for semantic interoperability, as we got influenced by the Agrisemantics work. So the FUSIN project is, we got some funding from the French agency, French National Agency for Research. And the goal of this project is to sustain the French participation in this implementation network. And we want to position French actors in this initiative, and especially provide some visibility on products that were developed in France and that contribute to the FAIR principle implementation. So this consortium is gathers actors from the science support, like DIPSO, with which is the Direction for Open Science at INRAE, technical providers like the LIM with AgroPortal, we've already talked about, and the IRD team DIAD with the AgroLD platform, which was also mentioned earlier in other presentations. And we have research units in different scientific fields who provide use cases in terms of data verification and semantic resource verification especially. We will work in the three, according to the three pillars of GoFair, with some promotion work and dissemination work in the community. We will also collect use cases and to study needs and good practices also and share them. And we will also work with the SHARC group of RDA on evaluating and testing evaluation tools for data and semantic resources verification. In terms of tooling, we are looking for tools to help data and semantic resources verification. And if you are using some efficient ones, please contact us and tell us about them. And in connection with AgroPortal, we also intend to publish more fair semantic resources in the context of this project, and also do some communication and sharing of some very relevant tools for publishing genomics data in RDF. And these were developed in the AgroLD platform. We want to make them available to more people. And we will do also some work on the training side with some evaluation of landscaping of what exists in our organization. And finally, we will contribute in organizing the 4th Agro Hackathon next year. And this is the occasion to invite you to this year Agro Hackathon, which is planned in May this year, but it may be a bit postponed. But at the moment, it will happen in the end of May. If you are interested, please go to the platform and register and come with your data, with your questions, with the tools, and participate in this hackathon. And that's it. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Sophie. We're back on track, so we do have about a minute for questions, if anybody has any. I'll just make a comment that clearly we have lots of other, lots of opportunities like hackathons that IGAD will do its best to help promote. So that both this hackathon and the previous one we heard about, we encourage everybody to do this. We had a question from Richard. Will you consider running a virtual hackathon?
Actually, we have not considered this at the moment. The future may tell. Clément, if you have any information about this. Okay. We may think about it.
No direct information on my side, Sophie, sorry, but of course, the hard decision to take. I think the COVID-19 has already taken the decision for us all. And and we'll probably postpone at some point. And the idea is to specifically bring together people working on data semantics issue in the agro field. So I think it was very relevant for IGAD. And a few of you guys know already about the event, and I wish we could do that again next year. So keep yourself updated. I was mentioning in the chat that people can already join the meetup group independently of the hackathon event. So that's also possible.
I'm about to give you this. Okay. So I am actually interested now to hear that Suchith is organizing. Apparently we have somebody breaking into our meeting. So if we can figure out how to mute that person, that would be great. So we probably can think about putting together some best practices or lessons learned about virtual hackathons, because it sounds like Suchith's hackathon is already planning to do it virtually. So maybe we'll learn a bit about how best to do that. So let's move on. The next item on the agenda is to talk about the crops data interoperability working group. And so Meta is here, and I will present the slide that we prepared.
Actually, I have another one. I have a PowerPoint that I can throw up there, if that's okay.
Sure.
All right.
Please. Go
Thanks.
ahead.
So I am going to share my screen, and hopefully you will be able to see it. Oops. Can you see that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good. Right, so this is something that's really hot off the presses. It is not pretty looking, so I won't get any points there, but maybe I'll get some points for the hot off the presses business. I was just approached quite recently by Ima, Patricia, and Cindy to see if I might be interested in trying to sort of provide some leadership, some stewardship to crop interoperability issues, you know, rather than have multiple different ontologies and semantic standards for different crops. How do we make sure these things are talking across each other and that there's interoperability across these? I've put together a very draft sort of operational framework for this that I'm going to throw up there. This is likely to change, but just so you get an idea of what at least is in my brain. I am a senior research fellow at the International Food Policy Research Institute. I'm based in France, in Montpellier. I lead the organized module of CGIAR's Platform for Big Data and Agriculture. So what does this look like? I'm just going to dive right in. I see that, you know, these are sort of the high level steps in kind of getting this group going and producing some outputs that I hope will be of use. So the first thing I see is trying to identify known stakeholders and who could be potential group members, trying to get them on board. And I've listed some possibilities there. We already have people active in this space from our big data communities of practice. I'm hoping that we can engage them pretty actively. I know some of this work is already occurring through the Plantium project and probably through the Ag Biodata Consortium. I know that FAO and INRA now have been active in this space as well. So I'd like to have their expertise and their learnings brought on board. And then there's a lot of movement on this in the private sector, and I've just listed a few: Ag Gateway, Bayer, Syngenta. There are many others from across the public and private sector. This is by no means an exhaustive list, but I'm thinking if we can get sort of the early volunteers and the champions who are willing to do some of the heavy lifting from a cross section of these organizations, that could be pretty helpful to really get a jump start on this. So we can then work together to draft outputs for validation by a larger group, and make sure that we're putting stuff out there to engage the community at large. The way I envision this working is having the heavy lifters also at the end of that exercise, using the outputs from what they've done to publish a paper. And that ideally would include problem statement, the methodology that was used, the findings, the recommendations, and guidelines. And ideally, it would be great to be able to articulate how, if, and how really some impact might be measured, because that's always the big question. You do all this stuff and you don't know, it sort of vanishes into the ether. So it'd be nice to be able to follow through over the years. I don't know, that may be a pipe dream, but it's there. So in terms of diving into the heavy lifter tasks, and this is again very high level, it might change, but the first thing I see is together articulating some needs and gaps, identifying what the problem is, figuring out what we need to have as key outcomes based on those needs and gaps identified, and that's of course with engaging a wider community. This is not just sort of staring at our navels, because that wouldn't be very useful. So key outcomes, milestones, associated deliverables, along with the time frame. Just a procedural kind of thing, meeting schedule, work modality, and that includes maintenance of meeting notes and other means to ensure transparency across the members of this group, the communities, the wider communities related to this work, as well as other RDA groups and communities. And then drafting a plan of work or validating a sort of this draft plan of work and fleshing it out. And then, identifying some key contacts who may not be part of the heavy lifters, who might be able to fill some gaps. So I see this more as a living document to start with. Gathering relevant learnings and materials that are already known, so not having to reinvent any wheels is an important part of this, I think. Making sure that we understand what the landscape looks like, and then towards that end, doing a survey. And a lot of this is coming from the experience of the wheat interoperability group, and some of the learnings from the rice interoperability group as well. So engaging people from those groups would be really good here as well. Surveying, trying to identify what's ongoing that we may not have caught. What are the existing standards towards enabling crop data interoperability, how people see this. And then, of course, analyzing those results, sharing back with the respondents and group members, and probably also presenting them at the appropriate RDA and other meetings. And then from all of that work, being able to draft recommendations and operational guidelines would be very useful, because that's what that's sort of the public-facing output here. And I see that including resources, tools, and ways to incentivize adoption and facilitate adoption as well. The idea being, you can do the best work in the world, but unless you're able to tell people why they should, do what you're asking them to do, and keeping it simple for them to do it, it's not going to get very far. So keeping that in mind. Of course, validating with the group members at every stage, refining as per the feedback we receive, and then finally sharing the recommendations and guidelines with group members and making them available via the RDA website as well as other places. So that's what I have so far, and I'm happy to take any questions. Again, this is draft. It may well change. That's what I have now. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Meta. And for the rest of you, this really was put together very, very recently, maybe within the last 24 hours. So I appreciate, Meta, your stepping up to
actually, the PowerPoint was put together as people were talking. I was trying to multitask.
Just in time presentation. So I just had one question and an opportunity to ask Esther if she has any lessons learned from her wheat interoperability group, if she has any ideas to share, and you could do that either by talking off mute, or you could put it in the chat. I don't want to put you on the spot, but because we have been down this road a couple of times now in IGAD with working groups, and the wheat group has been very successful. If there's any advice that we can give as we get the crops data interoperability group off and running, that would be great. Okay, so I think we'll move on. And again, thanks to Meta. And if anybody is willing to be one of those heavy lifters or would like to participate, please do contact Meta. There was a question about what a heavy lifter was, and I answered it in the chat that it's somebody who is willing to do lots of the work. So one of the things that we know about these efforts is that it requires some champions to really carry the load. And so if any of you are willing to do that or have ideas for who might be willing to step up and volunteer, that would be great. Okay, so for the last 10 minutes or so, we will be talking about next steps for the IGAD group. And let me share my screen. Okay, so the first thing to talk about is a planned meeting that we had originally hoped to do physically. We were going to do it in Rome, and obviously the COVID-19 situation has changed that. So Emma, do you want to talk a little bit about our plans for this virtual meeting?
Yes, can you put the slides?
Should be showing. Is it showing?
No, I don't see it.
Okay, let me try again.
But yeah.
Sorry, I'll keep working on it.
Okay, well, yes, so you might remember that we sent an email last year after the October's meeting in Helsinki about whether to have a kind of intermediate meeting between plenaries, because the input that we got during the pre-meeting in October is that many of you cannot travel that often to the destinies of RDA plenary. So we thought that, okay, we could look for possibilities to either have the meeting, the interim meeting, either in Rome or in Washington. And the preferences were to have it in Rome. We were exploring this when suddenly the COVID-19 showed up. So we had to look for alternatives. And we decided that perhaps what we could do is to try to have an online meeting that's, I can hardly see the screen, but essentially would be a series of presentations, panel sessions, whatever that you want to do online during a specific week in May, that most probably is going to be the last week. And what IGAD is going to provide is the technology to support any kind of event that you would like to have during those days. So the idea is that, thank you, now I can read very well. So the idea is that we have all the events distributed during the week. So it's not that we are planning to have plenty of presentations in 1 or 2 days. Also because we have a lot of different time zones, and we would like to make sure that people from Asia and as well from America can join at least some of them, even though we are going to record all the webinars, all the sessions, whatever. So as a first step, we compiled a list of possible areas of interest. Sorry, Cindy. So that's, here is the list. And this is, so if you're interested in submitting something, you can submit at aims@fao.org, as usually you do. The deadline is 23rd of April. And also, next presentation, next slide, we would need help from you. So please, if you have any chance, if you
Sounds like we have lost Emma's sound. She has an alarm going off, it sounds like. So I'll just finish up this slide. It basically, if you're interested to be part of the event, either as a speaker or as a moderator, we could use your help with that. And I think we can move on then to the next slide, and maybe Emma will return when the sound problem is taken
yes,
care of.
I have some, yeah, I have some issues.
Okay, so
here.
I just want to share briefly with everybody the news that we are in discussions with
Can you hear me? At least. Seems like Cindy.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Because I have problems with my one bandwidth, but now it seems like Cindy had. She has the presentation, but essentially just to finalize what I was saying before, is that we welcome suggestions. If you can submit something by the 23rd of April would be fantastic. Make any kind of suggestion that you like. We are going to use the Zoom Pro, so it means that we can also have breakout sessions, etc., etc. So, yeah. I don't know, Patrizia, there is anything else that you would like to add since the time is now ending? Okay, seems like we have some issues with Cindy and Patrizia. I'm not sure whether you can hear me now. Yes, you can hear me? Okay, well, so we are going to share all the slides that we had today, as usual. And don't forget that we are going to have a new webinar next week on Thursday, so please join us if you can. And that's it. We are going to, this has been recorded, so if you want to go through the slides and the recording, you can do it in any case through the link that RDA is going to send. And that's it. I'm not sure if you have any other comments. It would be good to know what was your feedback about if it worked, not as didn't work, etc. And I hope that you enjoyed. This was really, really prepared in the last second because RDA only informed us about this possibility last Friday. So I hope that you really had a nice time. Hi, Patrizia. I see that you are in the chat, at least. So we really lost Cindy. I'm really sorry for that. So have a nice day, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. Let's keep in touch by email and virtually from now on until the situation changes a little bit. And yes, talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.